gonna fix this sort of wee brick base here, foundations. You can even see the frog through the deterioration on these bricks. Pretty bad. Mortars sort of coming out in some of them too. But here we are with the preparation. Sometimes I just love the jobs that are really, really rough, really bad, because you get more job satisfaction out of them. And, you know, I think sometimes just the worse the better almost. But here we are. Got the SBR painted on pure, and I got my mix 3-to-1 mixed here with a wee bit of SBR in that, a wee bit of waterproofer, a wee bit of plasticizer. Did take a few mixes, and I think that's because of some of the faces of the bricks, like you seen, are completely gone. So body part drill is a must here. Don't need to have leads all over the place, tripping over them and hanging out windows or all that. It's just a lot easier with a body part drill sometimes. Again, this wee job can be quite tricky, a bit awkward, down low. I'm a bit tall, so it just can be a bit straining on the body, stretching up and down, getting it. But here I am, getting the scratch coat on. Again, doesn't have to be absolutely pretty, but a couple of things, a couple of wee rules that I like to stick to, and that is I like to go over the SBR when it's still wet and tacky. I don't like it drying, because the SBR will not come back like PVA, it won't come back to life. So if it dries, it's dry. To me, it's lost its bond. Yes, it might have stabilised the area and waterproofed it, but I don't particularly want it completely waterproof just yet. I want my render sucking in with that SBR, sucking in to the brick and bonding to the brick. So if you understand that, you're on the same page as myself. But yeah, so that's one of the wee rules I like to stick to. And the other one is making sure that you fill all them voids and you press in nice and hard. There was a massive hole around that vent. Now, with that one particular, I don't want the stuff just to fall in behind it. I just want to fill it up and make sure that there's no holes in the render and the bricks. If you trap air and there's wee air pockets, then that's a potential spot for water to creep in. And then this country does be quite cold in the winter, so water in there freezes. The rest, it's going to expand, the render's going to pop. Just the way the brick has been getting damaged, the more holes and voids and cracks in that brick and in the mortars of that brick, the more chance moisture and water's getting in. Then with the frost and stuff, that's probably what has happened here. It's in a bit of a shaded area that's been getting wet over the years, and just the worse it gets, the worse it's going to get, basically. So that's kind of the wee rules I like to stick to when doing scratching and preparation. Kind of want to overkill it. Bit like my own house, everything I do is sort of overkilling it. The other thing I like to do is, if there's awkward spots, I try and tackle them first, get the slow awkward stuff out of the way, and I would be absolutely lost without this pointer on this job. Pretty much that and this wee scraper is the only thing that could get in around here. And I have to be very careful here, guys, because that's actually the internet wire, the most important wire coming into the house. As you all know, even more important than gas or electric or water. So I don't want to damage that wire. It's a fibre optic wire. Apparently they're very fragile, you can't even bend them. They will snap, so need to be very careful working around it here with sharp tools. Also, there's 2 screws there in the wall working around. I didn't want to fill in them holes, so I left the screws in, and that's for like a wee sort of conduit clip thing that goes over the wire to protect it. Also, the wire is protected halfway up there by a conduit, a bit of a pipe coming up out of the ground as well. So the wire is actually well protected by whoever did install it. It's definitely not going to take any damage from, even if there is no grass here, but if you had a lawnmower or anything and you were coming up down past, there's no chance it's going to get damaged on the outside, and I'm taking no chances of damaging it here too. But yeah, I would have been stuck without that lovely little point and shell and scraper, and luckily enough the scratcher fitted in and I got a nice key on it. And don't you just absolutely love these dust sheets? these plastic sheets. They do last a good few jobs. They do tend to rip after, maybe 10 jobs, but if you take care of them, you can get a good few jobs out of them. And they're heavy duty enough to keep the place clean. What else can I say? It's a bit of plastic. It wasn't very dear. Buy a couple of them for jobs for mixing on and stuff that they will save you a lot of heartache and a lot of cleaning. So definitely recommend, if you get a chance, pick up a few of them. Again, as you noticed, SBR as I go. I don't want to SBR too far, just SBR the areas that I know I'm going to cover before it dries. Each their own. Some people say go over it when it's dry, but they're not on the same page as myself, and I haven't had no problems with the methods that I use, and I've been using these methods for a long time, so long that I'm seeing people using the similar methods as if it's a new thing, but I'm a bit baffled because I've been doing it from day one. And this channel's pretty old now, so anybody who's been with the channel will know that these methods are not new to me. There is some methods out there that are new and people are doing. I was actually talking to a mate on this particular job about it, and said it's funny that some of these new methods come out, and then all of a sudden, you see them for 10. No, sorry, I was going to say 10 years, but you see them for like 1 or 2 years, and then you don't see it. They seem to be back to the sort of older methods. That sort of speaks volumes, I think. But yeah, I've been using these type of methods. Don't always use SBR, but SBR is a great bonding tool, and it's a great waterproofing tool, and the wee bit of it in the mix does strengthen the render up. Like I said, I've seen recent videos of other people saying this thing as if it's a new thing. But yeah, here we are with the Tilesack trowel, getting the stuff scraped in, pressing in hard, guys, not really holding back. Does look a bit messy, but that's honestly, it's just because it's awkward. The trowel only goes up and down, and I've had to use the wee midget trowel to go left and right on the most, or the toe of the trowel here, as you see. Just trying to really work it in. Mix not too tight, still a bit creamy. Could have maybe did it a wee bit tighter, but again, body's quite sore and tired over the work I've done over the last wee while. I was talking to another friend of mine, and I think we realised that we're both getting older. When you wake up after a good night's sleep and you're still sore and your body's sore and you're getting pains in like your ankles or your hips or something, it's maybe a sign that age is upon us. So I don't know about that, but hopefully I can keep that at bay as long as possible. The other tricky thing with this job is the fence. So I've got the wire up on the left with the downspout coming down, the water pipe from the roof coming down, and then I've got 3 vents to tackle. And then I've got that sill to tackle, which has been lovely and painted recently as well, so I'm trying not to get that dirty. And I've also got this corner and then the steps to deal with, so quite a lot of wee challenges on a small job. And again, all them heavy areas where the bricks have sort of eroded and corroded and exploded off to get sorted. But again, like I said, uglier the better. I absolutely love fixing up the worst types of walls. Do love a challenge. More challenging the better. And I do love sharing these types of jobs with yourselves. I know you guys absolutely love sand cement work on this channel. Tried to do skimming videos, but they all seem to just flop. No, not flop, they do okay, but compared to sand cement, I think you guys just love it when I do sand cement bases and rendering. So I will try and focus out on that for yourselves, guys, because it's obviously what you all want. Originally, the owner did sort of want a plinth to go out past the render, where I advised them I thought it would be better, and thankfully they did listen. Thought it would be better to stick underneath the bell cast, and I'll tell you the reason why. One, it's to the right of the door, it's already been done like that, it's underneath the bell cast, but to me, I think it'll prolong the life of this render, which in turn will prolong the life of the brick, which in turn will prolong the life of the house. So, yeah, all good there. Glad they listened. Could have did it the other way, certainly, but to me, the chances of water eventually penetrating that wee slope I do them cut bases, you've probably seen it, but the chances of water eventually penetrating them would be higher than it penetrating the top joint here, because that build class will actually somewhat protect this render and keep it from getting worse over time or blowing off. So I did sort of make a bit of a blunder. I probably should have started on this corner, because there's like literally a good quarter of that brick to a third of that brick missing, and I could have did with maybe building that corner out 5 first pop. As you can see, I've scratched it. I've sort of had to scrape a wee bit back out just to make sure it wouldn't just all drop out. Again, somebody's going to ask, why no bead? A bead would be too heavy for a start, and secondly, freehand corners, guys, like this corner to me are much more superior than a plastic or a metal bead. Metal beads rust over time, and again, plastic beads just seem to have a void behind them, just somewhere for water to go, and if they get hit, the whole bead could blow off, especially there. So to me, a corner chip is better than a whole corner getting smashed off. And proof's in the pudding again as well. Just sort of, when you look around, if you open your eyes, look around old buildings, you will just see. And I want to talk a wee bit about this cordless drill, this evolution drill. If you want to buy one, or you want to buy anything from them, and you want to use a code, I think it's Mac Plastering as a code, you can get like some amount percent off. Can't remember if it's 5% or 15%. I think it's 5%. I'll say that to be safe. Don't want you thinking, oh. Again, I won't make anything off that. All I'm doing by saying to use about that is saving yourselves money. So you're welcome. But yeah, I just want to talk about how good that wee drill is. I've sort of overlooked it over the time I've had it now. I've been so used to using battery powered drills. The Ruby drill as well, still going. The only one that's broke on me so far has been the Colomix, the one with probably the slightly bigger name. So yeah, cracking me drill, and look how good the render is here. It's so creamy. I'm not having to struggle with leads and stuff, tripping over them and maybe potentially wrapping them around the drill. Did do that on the Ruby mixing drill a while back, and that was not fun. But yeah, getting the render on now, getting it on as neat as possible. Again, it's very awkward onto here. Could have maybe used a smaller trowel for coating, and you can see some parts really drying out, and that's probably to do with depth. Them other areas there, if you actually notice, you can see a whole brick, but again, that whole face, that brick was missing. So deeper plaster takes longer to dry, longer to cure, so that's all you're really seeing there. It has been a full day between scratch coat and top coat here. You could leave it 2 days if you wanted, but with that wee bit of SBR in, it does actually harden a lot quicker. So the whole main name of the game here is I want to get it all on as quick as possible, and I want to get it all straight as quick as possible. I believe it's going to be a lovely sunny day, but again, this house is slightly shaded. I think there's a few trees nearby and a house left and right of it, and the sun seems to be on the back side of the house on the most. So yeah, don't expect any direct sunlight on it, not for a good while, so I do have time. Just using a small straight edge here. A long one would just end up completely in my way and irritating me and getting all just in my way. So just using the small one again. The only thing better than this plastic sheet would have been if I had got 2 or 3 of them out, and then I wouldn't have to slide them about. But I don't mind sliding them about, because I want to make sure that when I am rendering this, that I'm getting right down tight to the ground, and so that won't be a big issue. So yeah, like I said, keeping it all neat as possible with the coating, getting it as straight as possible. And you can always, again, if you do use a smaller straight edge, you can always go back and check it again with a longer one later on. But I have seen guys actually straightening these pretty much with just a trowel. It's not a big, massive area, and you should, if you're at the game long enough, you should nearly be able to do it all with a trowel anyway. Don't I don't recommend that. I don't really advise that. I would say that the bigger the edge you can get, as long as it's straight, that's the best way to go. So again, just trying to make sure that when I coat this, that I do stay underneath that bell cast and don't lose any of that detail. And again, that'll keep the drip from just running down behind any render and stuff. So that's the main goal and the main aim. Again, there's probably other ways of fixing this. Could have scud coated it and then came back another day, scratched it, and then come back another day and floated it. The only problem with all that is depth. I don't have a lot of depth to work with. Just about have enough depth to get a scratch and a float coat on. So yeah, that would be out the window. Also, this place is very clean and tidy. The scud coat is messy. Doing the SBR and putting a bit in the mix is just as good on especially a smaller area. This render will be, honestly, with even a capful in per mix, it's going to be like 10 times stronger than it usually would be without the SBR. So yeah, can't really say much more about that. Otherwise, the whole video will be just about SBR. So coating it neatly as possible is a key thing, guys, to getting it straighter quicker. If you leave it all sort of lumpy, bumpy and heavy, you'll find when you straighten it, things can slide. You'll be filling out loads in other areas to build out to where you had it on too heavy and stuff. And things can slide. That's really what you don't want. If a lump of render starts sliding off the wall, you're in for a hard day. And I know a lot of people watching this knows exactly what I'm talking about there. A big wet area where the render slides off. Because you've put render on it, the walls maybe absorb a bit more water, and you're going to have to go over it again with a bit fresher render, add more water, more headaches, harder to rub, harder to finish, harder to straighten, whatever. Just, yeah, sometimes you're better doing smaller, thinner coats and building up so that, you get it right. Maybe a wee bit slower than going what Kirk Giordano would say, fat and ugly. So it's maybe a wee bit slower than that, but depending on your climate, I suppose. He's in a warmer climate. The climate we are in is it's pretty much always damp. This summer hasn't been terrible, hasn't been great, has been warm enough, but again, quite wet, so, can't say much more about the climate here. It's quite wet, it's quite damp on the most. So, yeah, that's what more I can say about that. That's why you want to keep your renders as sort of water resistant, as waterproof as possible, to stop any penetrating damp. But yeah, getting over closer to this corner, I'm going to have a wee bit of a nightmare just trying to get it nice and straight looking because of the tile there, the way there's not much of a lip, and then I haven't got much room above. So I do go along the side of just using the trowels and stuff to work it, and the same method pretty much for when I come to float it as well. Again, trying to get these small things level is also tricky, just because they're so small, any wee movement twists them out. But I do find even the likes around the vents and stuff, if it's not level or straight to the vent or to the wee frame, whatever it is, sometimes small things can look way worse than something that's a lot longer. Maybe that's just me, but I just find the eye can really pick that up. If it's not straight on them areas, that it's much more noticeable. I think it's because it's smaller. Same as like a reveal. If the reveal margin is like it's only a couple inches, if it's dog legged anywhere or there's a bump anywhere, to me it just shows up so much quicker on the most than just a normal sort of 4 or 5 inch reveal. But that could be just me. Let me know what you think, if I'm right or wrong. Again, let me know if you think that I'm repairing this the best way possible, or is there another way? The only other way I could think technically would be, lifting the house up, cutting the two neighbours' houses, cut them off, lift the whole house up, and rebuild the bricks. What do you think, guys? Would that be handy? There probably is a few out there that would probably be their first choice. But yeah, I think this is definitely the most superior way to go about repairing the damaged bricks here. Again, I'm using a wee small refiner float here with a bigger, more broken in one. The small one just because it's awkward and sometimes you need a small tool to fit into the wee awkward areas and get them nice and tidy, get them right. I'm finding the left and right of underneath the window, all of a sudden they're drying, but under the window is kind of wet and soaking. So I'll have to rub it slightly and then come back at it. There's no point sitting and rubbing something when it's soaking wet, guys. Give it a bit of time, maybe have a bit of a break, a phone call, price up jobs, whatever you gotta do, clean up a bit, read up some tools or materials that you're finished with. You can always keep yourself busy while pushing the job forward. If something's wet, why sit there, looking at videos on your phone or something, watching Mac plastering videos? Why not, clean up, wash your drill, pack your drill up, lock it up in the van, wash the tools you don't need, put them away, finish with sand cement, put it away. There's loads of things you could be doing. Or if you've looked at a job and you need to finalise prices or phone up jobs and stuff and get prices and organise dates, or have your lunch and relax and take your mind off the job for 10 minutes and watch my class video, that's grand too. Again, you might notice I was talking about age. I've got a wee knee pad here. The problem with that knee pad is that sometimes I was forgetting to move it along with me and I was kneeling on the hard concrete there, which can be quite sore and not so nice. But yeah, I'm getting there slowly but surely. Rome wasn't built in a day. But saying that, now this job, it didn't take me forever to do either. But you just have to make sure and get all the wee awkward spots. Try and get up as tight onto that sill as possible. Although the sill is a great protector of below, tend to find when you're chipping off old buildings, the render onto the sill is always solid. It's sort of up onto the soffits, it's always solid because it's got all them years of protection, and it's probably just as good as the day it was put on, because of the protection that it's had from the sill. So yeah, that's sort of wee things like that to think about. Also, what you'll find if you're doing a bigger wall, maybe not so much this type of job, but a bigger wall with a windowsill, you might want to wet onto that windowsill quite a bit before you go ahead and start working. I myself didn't need to wet this wall at all because it's still fresh and it still had quite a lot of damp areas. Just showing you now, guys, left and right, the sill's done, but like I said, quite wet onto the sill, so I'm gonna just give that its wee bit of time to set up before I keep on struggling on with it. So now that I had a bit of lunch on me, it's back on the float to get things nice and smooth. And when you are rubbing up, the key is, if it is too wet, you want to, take a bit of power off. You don't need to push so hard. But I let this set up a bit in between cuts, so that I kind of just sort of put a wee bit of power in when I'm rubbing it and compact and close in the surface and fill in the holes. So sometimes I've found over the times as well that me and whoever I'm working with, we actually coat and straighten quite neat. There's quite a wee bit of mess on the floor here, but it's more to do with the awkwardness. But sometimes you find when you rub the big wall that you get to the bottom and you need to fill in a few holes and you can't find any stuff because you've barely dropped any stuff. So sometimes it might be handy to leave a wee half bucket here and there just for filling stuff in. But luckily I dropped a couple of bits and pieces here. Probably if you scraped it all up, it's probably not even half a travel hole, like, you know. Just probably looks worse because the camera's nice and close. But yeah, it's not too bad to leave a wee bit so when you come to rub you can fill in again. And again, just make sure at the end of the job you clean up. Otherwise, you're gonna get a phone call to get back and clean it up. Um, that's an interesting topic on its own. Is plasters, tilers, and painters the only ones that actually clean up after themselves? Um, do you know many joiners that clean up the sawdust? Do you know the electricians after the track walls? Do they clean up the rubble that they've left behind? Again, joiners with their cuttings, plumbers with their pipe cuttings and stuff. No doubt they would take their copper, but it, on the most. Now I know there is good sparks out there. I know good sparks. I know good plumbers. I know a few good joiners and stuff too. Um, but what's your take on it, guys? Who is the cleanest trade? Possibly, I think myself. I do think plasters are up there with the cleanest trade, and I would say they're up there with the messiest. So being the cleanest and the messiest has something to say for itself. Again, most bricklayers don't clean up after themselves because they're used to working on a site, and it's not a finished job they're doing. It's really whatever hits the ground can stay there because they're used to working on site. I do tend to find that when bricklayers come to build garden walls and they're working on a finished path, some of them make an absolute mess of the path. But that's just me. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Maybe you're a joiner watching this and you think that you're cleaner than most other joiners. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Basically, yeah, my takes on it, and I do think that most plasters are pretty clean. Again, I used to think that I wasn't as organised as it was until I came to be building our own house, and you can see that on the channel. And I found out that I'm a lot more organised than a lot of other tradesmen. But yeah, I do think the more organised you are, the easier your jobs will come in for yourself. I do find it hard to keep a plastering van organised though, especially because I do so many different types of plastering. Outside rendering, dashing. We do obviously all the skimming. We can do plasterboarding, cornice jobs. We can do don't like to take on big massive cornice jobs, but something small and stuff. Don't mind it. Again, we do maybe small bits of building and demolition jobs. Just depends on the job, on the actual job and the person, depending on the customer. Whether we've done them types of jobs with them before, just on the relationship. Do floor screening stuff. So do find obviously to me that's all plastering. That's all plastering. It's not really, it's not like it's plastering, but the trade's broken up. The trade is broken up into your skimming, your plasterboarding, dry lining, floor screening, rendering, dashing, fibrous plastering work. It is the plastering can branch off into many different sort of trades, but to me, it's I sort of try and want to do it all. Again, keeps me busy, keeps me in work as well. Obviously because I do it all. Stick to it. Again, obviously people in London maybe just stick to the skimming because they have such a big area. When I say big, I mean densely populated. So maybe you don't have to do anything other than skimming, or maybe some people can just do patching. I do know patching would be the way to go when you're coming out of your time, you're finishing up the job, maybe more retiring, coming into your maybe into your 50s, and you're thinking of getting out of the game. If you can manage to get maybe 5, 6, 8 patches on a week, it would be enough to cover your bills and give you a couple of pound maybe for a wee bit of drinking or whatever it is you do, whatever you do as a hobby. Personally, don't drink myself. Something some of you probably didn't know, but I don't. I don't miss it at all. I don't think I'm missing out on too much by not drinking. I know a lot of people do enjoy it, and that's grand. Just think that there's more things that I prefer doing, even prefer working, than I would to sitting drinking. But that's me. I do somewhat enjoy work, and like I say, I really enjoyed this one because it did look so bad, with the bricks blowing and cracking and falling apart. So, job satisfaction here is way high, and that's a good thing. So, back to the job, guys. Still rubbing at this. Been rubbing at it here for the last 5 minutes. Taking my time to make sure I get things, rubbed up as tidy as possible and then sponged. One thing, I think I did it off camera, but after I had it all sponged, I did sponge the whole bottom again. It was sort of like an inch, 2 inches up. It was very, very wet, and it didn't sponge just so nice the first time round. So I did give it another wee light one. I think it did that off the camera, but it's okay to come back and touch things up again, guys. But what you will find is if your render does set and you want to sponge it again, you will scar it, you will rip that surface, you'll tear that surface, and it won't just look. It will look terrible. So you kind of want to do finish things as you go. Again, if it does scar and stuff like that, you can get it back to life with a bit of water, a bit of clean, fresh water. But what I find, what that does then, that stains it, it bleaches it like a white colour. And that's probably due to the fact that you're actually starting to dilute the cement and change the actual mix somewhat. So it will change colour if you do that. Again, it might look better. It won't look all rough and nasty. But, some people do want to keep it all the same colour if they're not going to paint, so you have to blur them things in. This is what I was talking about, guys, so a wee bit of attention to detail as well. If I had just left them, that would look very sloppy, very rough, so you want to, take your time and really tidy things up so it presents nice. The other wee thing I noticed on this job was the 3 vents were slightly different, which was interesting. Because it makes you think, was one of the vents added in later on for a wee bit more airflow underneath it's obviously a timber floor inside, so these vents, you want to keep them open, you want to keep them clean, even hoover them once in a while with a vacuum or whatever you want to call it, the Henry. You want to just make sure there's no, nothing blocking it, no leaves, no cobwebs, and try and keep as much airflow underneath your floor as possible. Yes, it might bring in some drafts into the house, but it will stop your timbers rotting, especially in our damp environment that we have. You want to keep that airflow, keep things dry. Otherwise, you'll be ripping up your whole floor, and you'll be putting in some stones to build up a bit, and you'll be putting in plastic and concrete, and it will cost you probably into the thousands, no doubt into the thousands, depending on the size. Materials alone probably cost in around that. But yeah, I think if you just look at the top and the left, it just looks so much tidier straight off the bat when you crisp it all up. Again, I'm not working with a level here, I'm just working on the edge of the vent. The vents did have some cement on them previously from, I think, actually when they were built in. Again, not sure who built them in, the bricklayer or builder, or were they added in. I don't know. These houses are probably between 30 and 45 years old, no doubt. Don't think they'll be any older than that. But they could be. It could be wrong. It could be 60-year-old. But if I was to take a bet, I would say they're like 45 years old at most. But yeah, who knows? But yeah, you can always dampen your sponge somewhat, guys, as well. Just again, don't have it soaking, otherwise you will start staining the wall. But if you just dampen it, it'll sort of, it'll rub over the top of the sand and cement that wee bit easier, other than dragging. Um, that sponge has probably seen its last job. It's probably now a cleaning sponge because it's starting to rip and stuff interior on me. Um, but yeah, if I had it on a wee bit thicker, the bottoms, I would have put a nicer slope on them. I had to slope one of them because the vent was tipped. If you actually look at it, it's tipped. It's sitting in at the top there, but it's poking out at the bottom almost. So if that sort of makes sense. So it's a bit twisted on it that way. But yeah, this is sort of the way that they originally wanted the top finish, with a wee bit of a bevel on it, which would have looked brilliant. But I just don't think it would be the right way to go about keeping the job, doing the job to its full potential of what it needs to do, and that's protect the footings of the house. Basically, protect the last sort of three bricks that are actually holding the whole house up. So you want to protect them, and I think the way I've went about it is definitely the most superior way that I could have went about it. And again, it's tidying up rightly. I think the before and afters would speak absolute volumes of themselves here. Um, this is after it's all washed up, guys, and cleaned up. Very, very tidy garden, and tidy job now as well on it. Just tidies it up that wee bit more. The only thing you have to do is give them vents an extra wee wipe.
What we doing live echoes in eternity.